Let me know when you guys are able to see. Are you guys able to see anything?
Yep.
Is it my face?
Yep. About you.
Because usually there's like a green like highlight around it, but I guess not today. Okay, so just to tell you guys a little bit more about me. I'm an immigrant American. I'm actually from Haiti. It's a small island in the Caribbean. It's right next to the Dominican Republic. I migrated here when I was about 9 years old. And for the next 9 years of my life, I was in Brooklyn, New York. So didn't really think about college or even knew that that was an option for me until like junior year of high school. So I made the decision that I wanted to get away from home, applied to a bunch of school out of state. And of course, when you're out of state, a lot more money is spent. And applied to a bunch of school, got approved to a few of them by the grace of God, and made the decision to go to Lincoln University to pursue my bachelor's degree. Now, I only chose Lincoln because it gave me the best financial package. And even with that package, I still had about $10,000 that I needed for out of pocket. So the only way for me to complete my freshman year was for me to take a nice little private student loan from Sallie Mae. It was $10,000 at the time. When I graduated, I took advantage of all the forbearance and deferments. And then I went to, of course, pursue my MBA. And you're in school, so you don't got to pay your student loans. Took advantage of that as well. And of course, by the time I graduated, that $10,000 had gone up to $16,000. So this is the first lesson. Don't take advantage of forbearance or deferments unless it's absolutely necessary. Try to pay off your student loans as early as possible, because the longer you wait, it's the more money you're essentially giving away to your lender. So as I just mentioned, of course, I went after my MBA. So I got my MBA from Villanova University. Just graduated recently, actually in December. As Isabel mentioned, I'm a finance professional. So I've been in finance industry for about 9 years now. I did 7 years at JP Morgan as like a financial controller. And now I'm at Bank of America, approaching about 2 years. The one thing I did want to note, though, although I'm a finance professional, the things that I do at work doesn't necessarily translate to like personal finance. So that didn't automatically make me like an expert in personal finance. I had to kind of like take my own time and do my own research to kind of help educate myself, as well as life experiences. Just kind of learned over the years as I transitioned from stage to stage, or different stages in my life, and so on and so forth. And now today I stand before you as a mom, a wife, sister, friend. And I have really made it my goal over the last few years to try and share any little bit of knowledge that I've acquired over time, just educating folks, or at least adding additional knowledge or insight into different areas of personal finance that can help them benefit, whether it's like home purchasing, credit scores, or whatever the case might be. If I have the knowledge, I'm happy to share it. So just earlier this year, I kind of made it my own personal goal to now start doing this Better Money Habit thing through my job, where I basically just go around teaching financial literacy through the communities that we serve, and so on and so forth. So here I am today, extremely excited and honored to be able to speak to you guys. And I hope that in today's session, you'll be able to take a little bit back with you. Feel free to interject with any questions. I want this to be as interactive as possible. If there's anything you want me to kind of like expand on, just stop me and let me know. And I'm happy to, again, share my experience. A lot of this will be about things that I've learned, like I said, through my experience. So happy to share all of that with you. It's probably going to be things you shouldn't have done, but at least you'll be able to learn from it and, take the right or the correct route yourself. This last quote, if I knew then what I know now, it's just a reminder for me that as you get into adulthood, your decisions will start to have really expensive impacts. So I can only imagine how much money I would have saved and how much bigger my financial portfolio would be if I had the foundational knowledge around some key areas of personal finance, things like understanding the importance of credit scores or debt to income ratios, compounding interest rates, tax breaks, and all of that. I'm throwing a ton at you right now. And we will touch a little bit on them as we get further into the presentation. But that's essentially like what's motivated me, right? I grew up in an area where these topics weren't being discussed. And I was raised in a home where my parents didn't really have the knowledge to pass that down to me. So I ended up having to learn the hard way. So that's a little bit about me. Let's see, moving on to the next slide. So financial literacy. Why is it important? Why do we dedicate an entire month to financial literacy? It's essentially just the possession of a set of skills and knowledge that allows an individual to make informed and effective decisions with all of their financial resources. Raising an interest in personal finance is an investment that will carry on for generations. And I say that because when you have that knowledge passed down through generations, it essentially gives you a head start on life. Think about the kids whose parents, let's say, had a 529 account for them since they were babies. So a 529 account is a college savings account that parents open up and they put money in from the moment you're born. So like for me, any money that I get from my kids through birthday parties and things like that, I just add it to their account. And what the company that you have the account with will take that money and invest it in some funds or the stock market or things like that. And then it will essentially grow. So if the stock market is doing well, you're doing really well. If they're doing bad, it could also have a negative impact on you. But because it's a long-term investment over the 18 years that this account will continue to invest and grow, there will definitely be a return. Like it's through historical data, it shows that you will get minimum of 10% return on your investment, right? Just based on how the stock market has done over the last few decades. So anyway, yes, so parents knew that they wanted their kids to go to school. So they saved over the course of 18 years and these investments continue to grow. So their whole college course was essentially paid for by their parents. When they graduated, they had 0 student loans, which meant that they had an advantage over those of us who did have student loans because any money they earn from that point on will be increasing their net worth. That $600 to $900 payment that comes after 6 months of graduating can now be put somewhere else. And it could be, if you're, I guess, knowledgeable in the financial realm, then you probably take that money if it's not being added to your expenses and just invest it somewhere, right? So that's why I added that little bit on generation or the impact to generation from having like financial literacy background. So continuing with the definition, understanding basic financial concepts allows people to know how to navigate in the financial system. It's a system, we just have to learn how to play it and win in it, take advantage of it. People with appropriate financial literacy training make better financial decisions and manage money better than those without such training. I know I'm throwing a lot of jargon and words. So also if you want to know what something is that I've mentioned, feel free to let me know as well. Okay, so personal net worth. What we're here to learn is essentially what is an asset, what is a liability, and how does that translate to your personal net worth? If you want to build wealth, you have to know the difference between the two, right? Essentially, an asset put money in your pocket and liability takes money out. When you think about assets, things like commodities, so like gold, silver, metals, oil, these things are your commodities. You invest in them. There's a market out there that essentially quantify the value of it and it goes up and down and so on and so forth. So that's an asset. A business is an asset because it's going to generate income. Paper, so things like stocks, bond, cash, those are your assets. And they are your most liquid asset. Liquid means essentially how long it takes to translate your investment into cash. So of course, cash is already cash. So it's the most liquid asset you can have. Stocks, if I wanted to sell my stocks today, I would have the money in my account tomorrow. So that's pretty fast, right? Bonds, a little trickier. There's penalties, but of course you can always cash out of your bonds. Bonds are essentially debt instruments that you buy. So let's say There's government bonds and there's corporate bonds. You are lending. So say I have $1,000 that's just sitting on my account, right? You are lending that $1,000 to the government and they're paying you interest on a monthly basis as they hold your money. So they'll say, okay, we'll borrow that $1,000 and we won't pay it back for 10 years. Throughout that 10 years, they'll just continue to pay you interest every month. So that's what a bond is. It's a debt instrument. And then of course you have real estate. Real estate is an asset. It gets a little tricky, right? So let me go back to the definition of assets. Assets are the tangible or intangible items that you own that can provide future economic benefit. So what that means is, can I make money with it, right? If it's not making you money, you can't really consider it an asset, which is why it gets tricky with real estate. Because if we go and buy a home, and we'll get into it a little bit further down the slides, if we go and buy a home, unless we paid all cash for that home, there's going to be a liability, a debt that the bank has given you in order to purchase that property. There's going to be a liability associated with it, which is why if you talk to most financial advisors or financial gurus, they do not consider the home that you live in to be an asset until you have paid it off. But real estate itself is an asset. If you buy a home and you are renting it out, you're making income from it. So even though you have that mortgage, because you're making money from it, you can now consider it an asset because the money from your renters is essentially paying off your mortgage. Or you buy a multifamily, you live in one unit and you rent out the other units, it's an asset because again, it's making you money. So how do we calculate a personal net worth? That's assets minus liabilities. Is the things that you own that are making you money minus the things that you owe other people that you have to pay. Anyone have any questions on that piece yet?
When you say real estate, like, do you mean like when someone just buys a house for themselves, or do you mean like, you know how like there's like real estate agents, like they buy like a lot of houses and they rent it out to other people?
Yep. So the real estate agents that buy houses and rent them out to other people, they're called real estate investors. So when I say real estate, it's really just property. That's just another name for property. The home that you buy for yourself is also considered real estate. The home that you buy to use as an investment property is also real estate. So as long as it's property, it's real estate. The building, like your school, the building that the school is using is real estate. Like it's just property. Now, what I was trying to say as far as the distinction between assets and I guess non-assets, where it gets a little bit funky is that the home that you live in, because there's a liability. So most people can't just go and buy $150,000 house cash. The way that most Americans are able to acquire their homes is by going to the bank and the bank financing or giving you a loan for 95% of that, or 98% if you're using like a first-time home buyer product or something like that. So that 95% is what you owe to the bank. The bank actually owns the deed to your house until you pay it off. So that's why it's one of those things where it's not really an asset. But now if I have a home, it used to be my home, or in today's environment, Airbnb, right? I'm renting out rooms and it's making me money, and that money is now paying off my liability, which is the loan that the bank has given me, the mortgage loan. Then people will consider it an asset because it's generating income for you. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. So yeah, any other questions before we move on to the next slide? Nope. Okay. So how can we increase our net worth? This is supposed to be a greater than sign. That's the best that I could find within PowerPoint. But so the way to increase your net worth, or to have a positive net worth, I should say, is for your income to always be greater than your expenses. And for you to increase that net worth, you have to limit your debt and eliminate bad debt. So within the debt world, there's good debt and there's bad debt, right? A mortgage is a good debt because it's going to lead to you having an asset later on in life. A credit card is bad debt because all you're doing is you're buying stuff with it, you're paying it off, and you just keep you just keep buying stuff. Like you don't get anything at the end of it, right? They also consider a car loan bad debt. So just debt period, you want to stay away from debt if you can. And if you do have debt, then to create a plan or a goal and how you can pay that off. Live a frugal lifestyle. So when I was younger, I got out of college and I got a nice paying job. I was very excited. I was independent, you know, I had my own place. I had gotten a car so I could go wherever I wanted now. And, you know, I still had a little bit of decent money left after I would pay off my expenses. So what did I want to do? I wanted to party. I wanted to shop. I wanted to travel. I wanted to treat myself because I kept telling myself that I deserved it. You know what I mean? I was working 8 to 10 hours a day. So when that paycheck would come through, I'm like, I deserve this new outfit or 3 or 4 or whatever the case might be. So I was living in what I call instant gratification mindset. Rather than thinking about my future self or how I can make my future, set myself up to be better in the future, I was thinking about how can I make myself feel good in the moment. So I was not living a frugal lifestyle at all. A frugal lifestyle means focusing on the things that you need and not the things that you want. So like, I need a place to stay. Do I need to stay at the most luxurious apartment complex at the time? Probably not. I was young. I didn't have any kids. Now, granted, pay for your safety, but I didn't need to be living in a place that offered, you know, all these amenities, nice pool, little place to do barbecues. Like that's unnecessary, right? That wouldn't be considered a frugal lifestyle. I could have just gotten a decent apartment, get a decent car, because, you know, when we graduate and we get a job, we want to get the nicest car out there or the newest car out there. And I won't get into that as much because a car's a depreciating asset. So you buy a new car, as soon as you leave the lot, it drops like by half of its value. But either way, so just making the decisions, right, to focus on the things that you need versus the things that you want. Do I need the latest pair of sneakers? Probably not, right? Me saving on that pair of sneaker, what is that going to do? What that's going to do is open up your cash flow, right? Because your cash flow is basically the amount of money you're earning minus the amount of money you're spending, and then whatever's left is your cash flow. If you can increase your cash flow, then you can use your money to invest it in things that will generate more money from you. So the theme of today is making your money work for you, right? Like, how do I can take the little bit of money that I'm making now, put it into something that's going to make me even more money? So that takes me, let's touch on the last piece of expense before I move to income, right? So manage spending through budgeting. As I mentioned earlier, I was buying whatever, doing whatever on my own time because I felt like I could. I never really created a budget until like maybe 26. So what that meant was I had no idea how much money I was actually spending. I was like, okay, well, my bills are paid, so I'm good. But no. So the best way for you to manage your spending is to create a budget and to try and stick to it, right? First, understand, where is all my money going? What am I spending the most money on? Do I really need to spend $600 a month on takeout food? Like, can I not get coffee every single day? Can I just buy a coffee maker, take a mug, and maybe take coffee to work with me if I need to? So like, having that understanding of where you are currently and then creating a budget to kind of help you get to where it is you're trying to go, because it's going to be impossible for you to create a savings goal if you don't know how much money you have left over and how much you can put in that savings. Because what will happen is you'll say, I want to save $300 a month, but because you're spending without knowing, you'll only have maybe 100 or 150 to put in your savings. And that doesn't help you get to your goal at the time that you've at least said that you wanted to get to your goal. So that's the expense component. That's reducing expense. Now, how do we increase income, right? Create passive income. Passive income is money that you make in your sleep. Like, you don't have to, let me not just say money you make in your sleep. It's just extra income that you're making outside of your job. So like the rental income that I mentioned earlier, that's passive income. Interest that's being paid by bonds, that's passive income. The gains from your investments in the stock market, that's passive income. If you have a business, and I will kind of take you through some ideas of what you can do right now to help gain passive income, but those are examples, right? So you create passive income. You save through earned income, that's your job. You diversify your portfolio income, that's investments. So not just investing in stocks or one type of stock, but also like thinking about risk. That's a whole other topic. I don't remember if you guys did invest in last week or next week. I'm not sure when it is, but they'll kind of like dive into risk tolerance. Like, are you a risky investor or not risky investor? Because they are riskless investments. Like a bond is a riskless investment. You know you're going to get what it is that they tell you that you're going to get. Whereas a stock market is a risky investment, because a perfect example, like I've bought some Tesla stocks. Now they grew really quickly, they grew really quickly over a short period of time, but they also tanked. Well, I won't say tanked, they haven't tanked, but the value, the stock price itself has gone down over the last 2 weeks. So it's kind of like an up and down. We call that volatility. And it's a high volatility right now for certain stocks. So, but Bank of America stocks, however, they've been pretty steady. They've been in the $30 range for as long as I can think of. And there's not really much going in. There's not really much volatility with them, but that's because their whole model or their value system is managing risk. So they're not going to go into risky investments that's going to cause them to lose money or things like that. So anyway, so that's going to be for your investment section. But yes, diversifying your portfolio to manage your risk and to make sure that you have money in different parts so that if one section tanks, the other one can kind of hold it up. And then just having multiple streams of income, right? They say that you should have 5 to 7 different streams of income. So if you lose your job for whatever reason, and I think a lot of people kind of experienced that last year, right? A pandemic happened and a lot of people lost their jobs. And it's not because they weren't performing well. It's just the external environment wasn't allowing those businesses to thrive. And the only thing they could do is continue to reduce their expenses. Employees are an expense. So the way for them to, make sure that they're not in a negative net worth, like if they were a person, right, is they have to reduce their expense. So they were laying people off. Now, if I get laid off and I'm living paycheck to paycheck and I don't have any additional streams of income, it's going to put me in a pretty bad spot. But if I have all these other streams of income, then at least they'll be able to hold me until I can get another job. Or maybe I might figure out I don't even need a job because all my income is, able to sustain me. Now I have all this time that I can dedicate to yet another investment, a business or something like that. Anyway, but yeah, so that's how we increase our net worth. We keep our income higher than our expenses at all time. So I don't think I mentioned this, right? One thing that I think is really important to understand also, how banks make their money. So if you have a checkings account or you have a savings account, the bank, you deposit your money and then you can see it. You go into your app, you get your statements and you see that the money is there, but it's not really there, right? Because, and I'm not saying that you don't have access to your money. You always have access to your money. What I'm saying is like the bank essentially takes your money and they're investing it and making money off of that, right? So why would I allow the bank to use my money to make money when I can just do that as well? Like if the bank want to use my money, they need to pay me for it. So make sure that you're taking advantage of things like if you have a savings account, am I using a high interest savings account? Because most banks will offer like that little 0.0001% and you get like a penny in your account every month. But there are other banks out there that offer much higher than that. And depending on what kind of savings you have, you're getting interest off of them holding your money. Or maybe you have money in there that you've been accumulating. Now, again, as college students and high school students, you may have that and maybe you may not, but just think through, I hope that you remember this later on in life, when you do start making money and things like that. If you have like $5,000 in your savings or even $1,000 in your savings and you're not going to use it or you don't intend on using it for like a year or two, like that's not my emergency fund. That's just money that I'm putting to the side. There's something called a certificate of deposits. It's a CD essentially. The bank will borrow your money, even though they already are, but they will formally say that they're borrowing your money and they will offer you interest. And it's usually much higher. So not just 0.001, maybe something like interest rates are really low right now. So, but back then it was like maybe 2% or 3%. You know what I mean? So just find ways to make sure that you're making your money work for you. Don't just leave it in a checking account. There's other things called like money market accounts. Like we can go through multiple things that a bank offers that will help you get a little bit of money back. But yeah, so those are some of the examples. Anyone have any questions so far? No? Okay. All right, so moving on. How can I create passive income right now? So I did mention the high yield savings account. Start a YouTube channel. So nowadays, I just got hip to this. I guess I'm really showing my age here. I mean, I've always used YouTube, but nowadays it's like YouTube is used for everything. It's like the video dictionary, essentially. So, and I know that with social media nowadays, some kids they're able to generate like a large following. If that's something that you already have, if you already have a large following and you feel like there's something that you can offer to people, if you're funny, you're, like, or you're fashionable, like whatever the case might be, right? Or you're really smart and you know how to unlock, like whatever it is, whatever skill or whatever thing you have that you feel like people would be interested in, start a YouTube channel. Because once you get to a certain number of views, YouTube starts paying you. I feel like you guys are in such a great stage right now. Like I wish that I would have taken financial literacy important at your age. So I'm extremely happy to see that there's something like this out there and that CDI is, making sure that you guys are exposed to these type of things, because at this stage of your life, you have so much time, like so much time. It's time that you'll never really get back. So if you have the time, figure out a way to best use that time. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to be on social media anyway, make sure that you're monetizing your social media account somehow. Like if, let's say you're a social media guru, there are things that you may know about how to navigate through Instagram and Facebook that older people who have businesses may not know. But we know that today social media is a way of the future. Like if you're a business, you need an online platform, you need a social media presence. So maybe what you do is you go to these, maybe your local, like your local businesses, people that have seen you growing up, that knows you, or maybe not your local, just businesses you see that have older people that don't have a online platform. You go to them and say, hey, I can create a website for you if that's something you can do, right? Or I can create a social media page for you. You just got to pay me X, Y, and Z. Like it's things that we do in our day-to-day lives that can help us generate money. Like that's passive income. That's income that's outside of you going to like a job or a 9-to-5 and have an account on that paycheck coming in. Buy dividend paying stocks. So companies that have been in business for decades, right? Coca-Cola, Disney, like they have been around for God knows how long, and they'll probably be around for just that much longer. They pay high dividends because they've been performing. It has been proven that they can perform for God knows how long. So buy stocks that will pay you dividends every quarter. Whenever their earnings are done, they send you a check. Now, depending on how much you invest, of course, that's how much you'll get. Like you might get $12 every quarter, but that's still $12. Depending on how many stocks you get it, that $12, you can then reinvest back and continue to grow your portfolio. You don't have to take that $12 and spend it. Like all my dividends, I reinvest it right back. And what that does is, without you having to physically take money out of your pocket, you're buying even more stocks. Sell print on demand t-shirts. Rent out your car. If you're in college and you have a car and I only have classes, and I don't know if students are back on campus, but like I only have classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Technically, my car is sitting from Monday, like on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. There's like companies out there that will pay you to lend your car to someone. They cover insurance and everything. You can make like hundreds of dollars, even in the thousands, depending on how much, these people are renting it for. And all you got to do is just let them use your car. And again, there's insurance to cover. So if there's an accident that happens, you're not liable for it. The company, there's already insurance from the company that will help you cover this. There's so many people doing like food delivery, shopping delivery, like all these things. They need cars. Some people want to do these things but don't have the car, so they're willing to pay you to use your car so that they can make money, and you just get paid for it. Or drop shipping, right? Like if let's say you like making hoodies or you're interested in hoodies, there's wholesalers like Alibaba where you can go and you can get hoodies at like a very cheap price. We're talking like $2 a hoodie, because that's typically the average price, right? When we buy these $50 hoodies, what we're paying for is the brand. We're not paying for the actual product. The hoodie itself costs $2, but because we slap a brand on it, we can now say, okay, well, now it's worth $50. You can just go directly to the wholesaler. You could create your own brand. If you're into fashion, create your own brand, create an online website, create a social media, start selling it. Drop shipping means that you don't even have to have the product come to you. All they got to do is go on your website, they order it, and it goes from China to the person's doorstep. So yeah, so just some ideas that I had on how you can create passive income right now. Anyone have any questions or any thoughts?
I heard of something like some people do like drop shipping on like Amazon or something. Like, could you like explain how that works?
So with Amazon, I don't know that it's called well, let me not say I don't know that it's called drop shipping. So what happens is Amazon has fulfillment centers. And if I'm a seller on Amazon, when somebody go on Amazon and buys one of my products, I don't have to physically have the product with me. Amazon will just have, let's say 20 or 100 of that product sitting in their fulfillment center, and they'll just ship it. That's how they're able to offer like that 2-day shipping, is because it's already in their fulfillment centers, and they have like the most fulfillment centers in the US. It's like everywhere. But basically what I think you're referring to, like, I think is when it'll just go directly from China to their fulfillment centers. So that way, again, you don't touch the product. Of course, you would want to get the samples first, make sure that you do some quality assurance and that is to your liking. But once you do that, the bulk amount itself goes directly to Amazon's fulfillment center. You create your Amazon account as a seller. Let's say you want to sell party supplies, because as a mom, trust me, I order party supplies at least 4 or 5 times a year. Birthday parties, graduation, whatever it is, right? People are always doing things like that. So let's say you want to sell party supplies, you go on Alibaba, you find a vendor, you pay the $50 for a sample, you check out the quality, you like the quality, cool. You set up your agreement, and you just have your 200 party supply set go directly to Amazon. You create your Amazon account, and when people order, click, go from the fulfillment center to the consumer.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Anyone else have any questions or thoughts? No? Okay. So moving on, monthly view of Stephanie's financials. So this, and let me know, is this small? Can you guys actually see the numbers in the different sections?
Not too much.
Okay, so I'll probably open the Excel, but before I go into that, right, this view, let me see, actually, let me just see if I can do it now. I think that sound is me. I don't know what I have open. That's like, it's nice background music, but
You have Kahoot in your background?
Yes, that's what it is. Oh, you're familiar
I
with
recognized it.
Yes, because I was gonna do a little Kahoot thing at the end. So that's what it is. Gotcha. Okay. Where is my Excel sheet? Hold on a second, guys. Oh, here it is. Okay. Is this better? Is the sizing better, guys?
It's a bit clearer, yeah.
Huh?
It's a bit clearer, like bigger than the previous one. Oh, perfect.
Perfect. Okay, great. All right. So this view is how businesses monitor their financials. They look at their income statements and their balance sheet, right? Maybe just zoom out one more so you can have a holistic view. Yep. So they look at their income and their balance sheet and use the data in there to plan for the future and make informed decisions for the business. This is how we as individuals should look at our financials so that we have a holistic view of where we are and how we can get to our future goals. The income statement portion shows you money you earn. Sorry about that. It shows you money you earn and money that you're spending. So that's your income and that's your expenses. The difference between your income and your expense can be used to either decrease your liability or increase your assets. So what I have, or what I had on this PowerPoint slide was two versions, right? I had Stephanie, who's a nurse. She makes, or two scenarios, I should say. She makes $100,000 a year, pays 22% in taxes based on her bracket. That's what she felt based on the income that she was making. And she decided to contribute 3% to her 401k. Her 401k is her retirement account that's given through her employer. We'll go into that in a little bit as we go into retirement. But what I wanted to show, right, is the difference between someone who is living just based off salary, right? So if we look at this bucket here where my cursor is moving, Stephanie's goal is financial freedom. Financial freedom means that I do not have to rely on a paycheck, right, to live my life. And I have enough investments and passive income to generate income for me for however long. And I do not have to worry about, and of course, you're debt free. I think part of financial freedom is also being debt free. Like I don't owe anyone anything, right? So what you have here is her salary. This is how much she's bringing in. So that's $100,000 pre-tax. She's bringing in $38.46 every 2 weeks because typically most people get paid bi-weekly. So every 2 weeks, she's bringing in $38.46. She doesn't have any passive income currently, which makes her total income $38.46. And then her expenses are $35.51, leaving her with cash flow of $296. So currently, Stephanie has $270,500 in liabilities. She has a home mortgage of $150, car loan. Ooh, that's not right. No one has a car loan of $109. That's supposed to say student loans. So she has student loans of $109,000 and a car loan of $9,000 and credit card debt of $2,500. So she has $270,500 in liabilities. On the asset side, what she has is $195,000. So already we can say that Stephanie has a negative net worth, right? She has $5,000 in her savings. She doesn't own any precious metal stocks. She does have a 401k with a current value of $15,000. And she has her home, you know, that little funkiness that we spoke about, property value of $175,000. But that $175,000, of course, is offsetted with this $150,000 mortgage. So really what she has is a $25,000 equity in the home. Like if she was to sell this property today, she would have to pay back this loan. So all she would keep is $25,000. So this is Stephanie's financial makings. Now let's look at her expenses. Of course, we got to pay Uncle Sam. So at 22%, she's paying $846 in taxes. Your 401k comes before taxes. So I'm applying that 3% again to her pre-tax income. So that's $115 going to her 401k a month, or I should say per paycheck. Her home mortgage is $1,200. Her student loans are $649. Credit card payment is $90, and car loan is $375. And then she has other expenses, of course, for like phone, internet, subscriptions, that's about 275. So her total expense is 351. If all she has left, right, is 296 a month, she doesn't really have the ability to put a lot into her savings, right? So it'll take her forever to build the savings, because they say you should have 3 to 6 months of your total expenses saved. And right now she has 1 month, creeping up on 2 of total expenses saved. So she doesn't have a lot of room to increase her savings or to pay off some of the smaller debt that she has. So this is Stephanie with just a salary. If you move over to Stephanie with passive income, right? So Stephanie is still making 100,000 a year, still 3846, right? Every 2 weeks is coming in, but now Stephanie has passive income. Her passive income is coming from her rental property. So rather than buy a home, she bought a triplex. A triplex is a 3-unit house where each floor is essentially its own apartment. So she lives in one apartment and she charges $850 for each of the other 2 apartments. So every month she's bringing in $1,700 in rental income, and that is paying off her rental property plus some. In addition to that, she's a nurse. So she's working 12-hour shifts, 3-4 days a week. So during those days, her car, rather than have her car sit in the garage for 12 hours, she is lending out her car for somebody to use. And she brings in $400 a month through the car rental business. So she has $2,100 in passive income. So in total, she is bringing in $5,900 in total income, leaving her with a cash flow of $2,500, right? After she's paid off all her expenses for the month, she still has $2,500 left. So she is using that to increase her savings. At this point, she already has the 6 months, right? Once you have the 6 months of savings, you can use your money to either decrease your debt, like that should be the next step, right? Let me decrease my debt. So she started off by paying off her student loans, not student loans, paying off her credit card debt. So that's now at 0. She can now tackle the next small debt, which is the car loans. So with $2,500, if she wanted to, she can make 4.5 payments, right? 5 payments and pay this off completely, leaving her with still $500 in case anything happened. And remember, she also has this $20,000 savings. She also has $10,000 in stock. So what she's also getting, which I didn't add up here, is dividends. But she's not keeping her dividends. She's putting it back into her brokerage account to get more stock. So this will just continue to grow. So just wanted to kind of show you guys like the difference, right? Like how much advantage you get from having like that additional passive income come through. It allows you to really change the trajectory of your life and give you more of an opportunity to pay down your debt. Once you pay down your debt, you can keep all the money that you bring in. Like that's goals. That's real life goals. So yeah, so I wanted to share those 2 scenarios. So that's where we are with assets. And we're going to end by going to this next slide. Unless anyone had any questions. Actually, let me go back. Did anyone have any questions on what I just went through from Stephanie's financials?
Yes, I do have a question.
Yep.
So I'm wondering, what would you say, like from your opinion, is a good balance with the cash flow of paying down the debt and building assets? Like, given that she has such high debt, yeah, what would you say a good balance would be?
So for me, if it was me, right, I would pay down my debt. And I only said I would put whatever I can. So say I keep $400 or maybe $500 to myself for like groceries, eating it out. If I want to like do brunch with a friend or something, I would put that $2,000 towards my debt, because the thing about debt is there's interest. Every loan that you take out, there's interest on that, right? So every month that you keep a balance out there, you're paying additional money for them to kind of like hold that balance for you. So I would pay down my debt. I would tackle my debt first. And then once I get my debt down, then I would go into investing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Because investing is also like, again, it's a long-term thing for me, at least for me. Like you can, if you have the time and you're into trading, right? You can be like a day trader and you can look for stocks that you know are going to perform and put your money in today, take it out tomorrow. Like that's time consuming and requires a lot of effort and expertise. So for me, I do long-term investments. And because it's long-term, like I'm not going to really see the benefits as of yet because the market can go up and down, right? Whereas with the debt reduction, I can see the advantage or the benefit almost immediately because I'm paying less in interest every month and I'm getting debt off my name, giving me more room once I pay all of this off to do whatever I want to do with my money. Any other questions?
Would it always go that smooth? Like, would the passive income always go that smoothly? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so with everything in life, there's always going to be hiccups, right? So let's say with the rental property, maybe it takes her a little bit of time before she can find 2 tenants, right? Or maybe she has 1 tenant and an empty apartment. You just got to continue to be creative. So maybe she can't find a long-term tenant, so she goes to Airbnb and start renting out the top apartment, but that would require upfront costs because you got to furnish it. So there's always going to be hiccups. It's not always going to be smooth. The car rental thing, I think, is pretty smooth. I don't know why I didn't take advantage of it. I mean, at this point, I wouldn't because I have kids and with COVID and everything, I just wouldn't want people using my car. But if I didn't have kids, like I work from home, my car is just sitting out there, I would definitely take advantage of that. All you got to do is go on the website, you put in your registration information, your insurance to show that the car is currently insured, even though they're providing insurance. And you got to go through like an inspection, kind of like how Uber and Lyft drivers do. And then boom, you set up your account and then people can rent for hours at a time or days at a time, whatever the case might be. And then money just comes to your account. Like that's a pretty smooth one, in my opinion. Building out a business, although it's passive income, is not going to be a smooth ride. That's why a lot of people aren't successful in it because it does take a lot of effort upfront. Because you just got to figure things out, right? Especially if it's your first time doing a business. There's a lot you got to figure out and a lot you got to learn. But long term, certainly going to reap the benefits. So, yeah.
Wait, so like, you know how like some people buy like like mini houses and just like rent them out? Do they also do that with like cars? Like buy like a bunch of cars and just rent it out for profit?
I mean, nowadays, there wasn't a market for that before, but nowadays there could be, right? Because you could buy an $8,000 car. Like people aren't looking to buy like luxury cars and rent them out. You could buy an $8,000 car and then rent that out. You pay off that car in less than a year. You know what I mean? Just from the money that you're making with this. So people can buy like 2-3 cars just to kind of get into this business. This really became a thing or a popular thing this year or last year, given COVID and all the deliveries that people have had to do. But I do think now that we've gotten accustomed to this level of convenience, like convenience living, that people are going to continue to do like grocery deliveries, food deliveries. Like, I don't think it's going to like just go away once everyone's vaccinated or anything like that. So that is something that people can do. Yeah. The same way they buy properties, even with Airbnb, some people are not buying multiple properties, but they're getting in contract with multiple apartment complexes. Like there's a way to somehow like get apartment complexes to give you apartments, you furnish it, do Airbnb, and I guess they get a cut of it or something like that. Like things are just changing so quickly. People are creating opportunities where there weren't opportunities before. So anything that you are interested in, I would say definitely do the research, look it up and see if it's something that's for you, because there is opportunity out there, a ton of it.
I had a question.
Yep.
So let's say like you were to find a supplier on like you said, Alibaba.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to find a supplier and like let's say you bought 200 things, how would you get it to like Amazon to sell it for you?
So Amazon isn't necessarily selling it for you, right? You're just using their platform. And because Amazon has millions or billions of customers, it just makes your chances of selling that much higher, right? Because you don't really have to do much marketing. People nowadays are using their social media platforms. So like if you're selling on Amazon or on Etsy, through your following, you'll say, okay, just drop a new product. Like you still got to do some advertisement on your side to let people know, to bring awareness that you are selling this thing. But the thing with Amazon also is like, if it's either you're beating them out by price or you're beating them out by reviews. So if you're just starting out, you're not going to have a lot of reviews. So what is going to push your product to the top when people search whatever product it is that you're selling? I think there's certain things that Amazon will suggest to do to kind of bring your listing up the same way Airbnb does. Like Airbnb will say, offer this, give this price. Like there's so much analytics and data available now that they can offer, like, here's what you can do to get to X, Y, and Z. So, but to your point, not to your point, for your question though, it would still require some kind of promotion on your end to let people know that you are offering this product, because there could be multiple of your product already on that Amazon platform.
Yeah, what I meant was like, so you have the 200 items and you would like sell, like, send it to Amazon, like to their facilities.
Mm-hmm.
And you would like send it to the people.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part. You're very low. I didn't hear the last
They would
part.
send it to the people.
Ubong, no. Sorry, my kids just came home. Would I send it to the people? No. Once they send it to the fulfillment center, Amazon sends it to the people, not you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay. 5:53. We have about 7 minutes left. So I'll try to run through retirement real quick. But things that I wish I did in my 20s was, and I've mentioned a few of these already, save my income, right? Buy a multi-property first, because there's benefits to being a first-time home buyer. You would want to use your benefits on a multi-family that's going to help you bring in more income than to just waste it. Let me not say waste, but just on using it on a single unit family house first. Live below my means, max out my 401k, start a side hustle, and pay off my student loans. And I think I kind of went in depth into like why I would do those things in the last 51 minutes, but I'll try to breeze through. I don't have a lot of slides for this one. We might not get to Kahoot, unfortunately, but so what is retirement, right? Retirement refers to the time of life when one chooses to permanently leave the workforce behind. So in the US, the traditional retirement age is 65, but nowadays, most people's goals is to retire early. So that means getting to a place where your income can sustain your lifestyle once you have left your job. So if we talk about like the different factors to consider when talking about retirement, I have some stats here to kind of help highlight that. 86% of people, so this is the percentage of retirees who said they or their spouse or partner received the following benefits. So 86% of people receive Social Security. So Social Security is something that the government pays out to you once you go into retirement. However, you have been paying the government Social Security through every paycheck since you started working. So it's essentially like the government is saving for you, right? 58% draw from an IRA or 401k, and I'll go into a little bit about what the different accounts are. 56% have a defined benefit pension. So pension is another thing. If you've been with a company long enough, they start putting money aside for you for your retirement. And 53% have savings outside of a retirement account. That's your own personal savings, whatever it is that it may be. Let's see. You guys are so far away from retirement, but it is the best time to start learning about this, because the best thing you could do for yourself is to start at an early age. So I have a quick video for you guys. It's 3 minutes long.
Retirement can mean different things for different people.
Let me close out this Kahoot because I know we're not going to get to it. And it's, there it is. Let's get to the video.
People. It could mean stopping work entirely and traveling the country. Or it might mean quitting a full-time job to work. Retirement can mean different things for different people. It could mean stopping work entirely and traveling the country. Or it might mean quitting a full-time job to work part-time and pursue something you love. Now, if you're just getting started in a career, You may not be thinking about when you want to retire or what kind of lifestyle you want when you do. But just because you're not thinking about it yet doesn't mean you shouldn't start preparing for it. Because the earlier you start saving for your retirement, the more flexibility you'll have to create the future you want. One way to get started is to open a retirement account and start contributing to it regularly. You can then choose to invest that money in things like stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. By investing, you're giving your retirement fund the opportunity to potentially grow over time. There are, of course, some risks to investing. Investment accounts aren't FDIC insured and aren't bank guaranteed. And as the market rises and falls, investments can lose value. However, historically, over the long term, there have been periods in which the market has recovered losses. It's also worth noting that some investments can be riskier or more volatile than others. And while not all investments may do well, on a whole, market growth has historically outpaced the rate of inflation. Of course, past performance is no guarantee of future results. But investing is one way of potentially offsetting the effects of inflation on your money over the long term. Now, let's look at two types of retirement investment accounts you might encounter. Of course, there are many more, but for now, we're just going to focus on two of the most common ones. Sometimes they're referred to as retirement vehicles. You could even think of them as vehicles that can carry your money toward your financial goals. Some retirement accounts might be offered through your employer, like a 401k. Other accounts you can set up on your own, like individual retirement accounts or IRAs. Employer plans, like 401ks, are often set up so that you can automatically set aside a portion of your paycheck to help build your account. Some companies even help out by contributing an additional amount of money to your account. This can be an excellent benefit to take advantage of. Accounts you set up on your own, like IRAs, won't have that employer match, but you'll have the freedom to shop around for an account that's right for you and typically choose between a larger selection of investments. You can manage these accounts on your own or have a professional help you. Retirement accounts like 401ks and IRAs offer tax advantages, but they also have potential drawbacks. For example, you could be charged a substantial amount of additional tax if you withdraw money from them early. Basically, they're designed to encourage you to set money aside for retirement and discourage you from being tempted to use the money you've invested before you retire. Whatever you might envision for your future, if you start early enough, time is on your side. By doing your own research or working with a professional, you can start to create an investment plan that takes your personal goals and ideal retirement date into consideration. Starting a retirement account early and adding to it often can give you more options and flexibility in the future.
All righty. Sorry for all the disruption, guys. My kids are home. Welcome to virtual everything. So I unfortunately have a hard stop at 6, so we're not going to really get to dive into retirement accounts. But I do have, of course, just really quickly, want to take you guys through like what the different accounts actually mean. Right. So some of the things that I'm sure you heard on there was 401k, right? So your 401k is essentially your employer-sponsored retirement account. What it does is it contributes money pre-tax to your account. And then when you withdraw the money later in retirement, that's when you will pay the taxes. So you get a tax break now because what happens is it reduces your taxable income. There's also a Roth 401k option, which is the opposite. You contribute after tax dollars, but generally don't have to pay federal taxes until you withdraw the money in retirement. So that's tax break later. The key benefit that I want to highlight for 401ks is that you get matched by your employers to a certain percentage. So free money that your employer is essentially giving you, sometimes up to 3%, sometimes up to 5%. But the least you can do once you start working is take advantage of the 401k opportunity and allow, at least use up to the percentage that your employer will match. Then you go into your IRA, that's your individual retirement account. So it's the same concept, traditional versus Roth, tax deferred versus tax later, right? But the IRA is your individual retirement account versus the employer sponsored retirement account. And some of the key things to really think through when considering both traditional versus Roth is that the traditional provides upfront tax breaks and Roth offers future tax breaks, But with a traditional, if you decide to take out your money early, there is a 10% penalty that you will pay in addition to the income taxes that you will also have to pay. Whereas the Roth, it only applies the penalty to your capital gains. So if you wanted to take, let's say you contributed 10,000 and you wanted to take out 10,000, but your account has grown to 15, that 5% gain would have a penalty applied to it. But if you only want to take out 10, which is what you contributed to begin with, it would be taxed. There would be no penalty. And it would be tax-free, of course, because you've already paid the tax. So those are like the main things from the different type of retirement accounts. And then how do I get started, right? Just get started. Figure out the kind of lifestyle you want to have during retirement, create your goals, and use the online tools that are available. Most banks have them nowadays to help you calculate your contributions or how much it's actually going to take in order for you to retire based on the lifestyle you want. And put away as little or as much as you can. What I had was these two charts at the bottom was just really showing compounding interest, like how that works and why it's important that you start saving earlier versus later. And then investing in the stock market. So although it has its volatility over time, it's just going to grow. And these are the different ways that your investment in your retirement account get invested, either through bonds where you have the compounding interest piece, or the stock market where you have the capital gains and so on and so forth. So how can I retire early? Make your money work for you, which has been the theme of the presentation, right? And avoid debt. So aim towards financial freedom and save to invest. I had a little, I'll probably share this slide just so you guys have it if you want, but I also had some resources that I have found helpful. So some books, Set for Life, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Millionaire Next Door, Broke Millennials, and then Better Money Habits is the site that I use for that video. There's a ton of resources on there. It's available to everyone, not just employees, that talks about every stage of life, how you can budget, how you can save, how you can invest, how do you think about retirement, everything that you could think of from a financial literacy standpoint, it has. If you're interested in investing and you don't want to invest, you don't have a lot of money to invest, there's apps like Acorn or Stash that does like $5 a day or something like that, and it puts it towards investment. So you're still putting your money out in the market and it's still growing. So I wanted to share those with you. And then I had a Kahoot game, but of course it's too late. So close the door, baby. I'll be back. I'm coming, okay? Close the door. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you spending a little more time with us than we planned. But I found this so informative, and I wrote down some of those resources you just put down too. So I hope students did as well. If not, we can share the list afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we did record it, so you guys can always, once we get it up and going, we'll share the link for it, and everyone can go look at and just run through maybe some of those things we didn't fully get through. But thank you so much. Appreciate all your time. We did have a quick survey for students. So before you hop off, please click the link. We'll put it in the chat, and that just gives us feedback on programming events, and we can do it in the future and keep doing stuff like this for you guys. Virtual round of applause to you, Natachie. Thank you so much for sharing your insight, and we hope you stay friends with us in CDI. And keep
absolutely.
So thank you so much. And I'll stay on just to make sure everyone gets this link. Yeah.
Right. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Hi,
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Bella.
No, not to you. Thank you. All right. Well, I hope you guys found it informative, and I hope that some of it retains down the line when you start, being exposed to these type of situations and scenarios. And thank you so much for having me. Hope you guys have a wonderful evening.
You too. Take care.
All righty.
And I see in the chat.
There was a question.
Yes. Is it okay to share your email?
Absolutely. Yes. You can share my email if you guys have any questions or anything from the presentation you want to follow up on. I will share the presentation with you guys. So you can at least have this to refer to. And if there's any follow-ups on that, I'm happy to have a conversation with anyone. So
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bethel. We'll send you that information. No worry.
all right.
Take care.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, guys.